Greetings, friends. It's Pat back with another episode of Let's Talk Travel. And we welcome all of our live listeners. Of course, we're glad you're there. And if you're joining us on an instant replay, you're catching this after the fact, we're glad you're out there as well. I just want to say up front here before we get into this, you will want to stay tuned until the end today. We have an exceptional giveaway this evening just for our live listeners. So if you are online with us live while we're broadcasting this first time around, do stay tuned because you do not want to miss your opportunity to get your name in our drawing for this great prize this evening. Now, that out of the way, I am so excited this evening to welcome a very special guest for this broadcast. This is Dancing Moon Travel's own agent, Jason Odell, and he is here to tell us about an amazing trip that he just made, and we'll get into that. But Jason, Dr. Odell. Let's say Dr. Odell. I am so glad that you're online with us this evening, and I always like to start with just inviting you to tell us a bit about your background. We have probably some listeners that don't know you. Can you just kind of fill in some of the stuff so people get to know you a bit?
Yeah. Hey, Pat. Thanks for joining, for having me on today. I really appreciate it. I'm in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and we've been working together since about 2016, 2015, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. And in 2020, I joined your team. My background is in biology. You mentioned I have a doctorate in biology, but I've been doing full-time professional photography since about 2010, and that involved a lot of travel and workshops and photo tours and safaris and things like that. So we kind of found I'd say we found a natural synergy, and then we start working together. And so it's been fun working with you and other clients to book photo tours and vacations and all other kinds of fun things that you might want to do. I've had some really great opportunities since I joined the Dancing Moon Travel team as well. So it's been exciting.
It has been, and it's been a great thing for Dancing Moon Travel. So glad, I just was out there looking. I wanted to connect with a couple of photographers, and so surfing the internet, found your name, and the rest is history. So I'm so glad that you responded when I reached out. Now, folks, Jason recently led a group of photographers to Panama. Now, frankly, this is not a destination where a lot of our clients are clamoring to visit. I'm just going to be honest with you. But Jason, this turned out to be a very special experience. And when you were telling me about the trip, your enthusiasm was just so contagious that I just wanted to bring you on to share a bit about it with our audience. Now, you stayed at a pretty amazing place during your trip. Just tell us about this eco lodge and where it's located, how you got there. Just fill us in on some of that.
Sure. Panama is an interesting country. Most people just think of the canal, and there's lots of canal transits and tours and fun. So we flew into Panama City, which is a major airport. And we spent a couple of nights on the front end, actually in the downtown Panama City area, right in the middle of their financial sector. You wouldn't believe the skyscrapers. It's a very modern looking city. You just wouldn't think much about it. You wouldn't think you were in Central America, really. I mean, you just wouldn't. But there are some places there. We went, did a little side excursion on the Panama Canal to see monkeys and other animals. And then the meat of this particular trip was to visit an island on the northwest coast of Panama. So if you imagine Panama kind of running east to west, you're on the north, which is actually the Atlantic side. So you got the north and the south. You think east-west with Atlantic Pacific. No, we went north to get to the Atlantic. And so really close to Costa Rica, about 10 miles away from the Costa Rican border. We were taken by boat after we arrived by our little puddle jumper plane on Air Panama, and it's about 30 minutes or so, and you're on an island. Now, this island is called Isla Bastimentos, and most of it is a natural wildlife preserve. You know, think just a national park, but there's a few sections of privately owned property, and the owners at this particular place are American. They started about almost 20 years ago, built it up almost from scratch, and it's all inclusive. So you get food and everything you want. There are 3 meals a day. You walk away too full, and you're just right in the middle of a rainforest. And we have fully modern amenities, which is a big plus. So we stay in these little cabanas, but they're all air conditioned. They're all sealed up really well. They're bug proof. The water is purified, so there's no issues with drinking water or anything like that. Hot water heater. I mean, just great everything. So very, very comfortable accommodations. But when you step out, you're kind of in the rainforest, and it's really great.
That is really, really cool. Now, so all of your foods included, beverages, things like that. Do you have
Everything except alcohol was included. So,
okay.
And that was at a very modest extra. It was like $3 for a beer, so not too bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. That is really cool, and I love that. Now, as I said, Panama is really not on the bucket list for most of our travelers. It's a perennial favorite of cruise travelers. Most cruisers want to do is on the list of places that they eventually want to do. But for people just doing, going on land trips, just not so much. What could you share with our viewers this evening that might change their opinion of Panama? Why would it be such a good destination for them to consider?
I think a couple of different things. I mean, first of all, it's very easy to get to Panama. You're not changing a lot of time zones from the U.S., so that's one. A nonstop flight for me from Denver was about 6 hours, but there's a lot of connections through Houston and Miami. But Panama, being so ingrained into the financial and industry, the financial banking sector, is very well built up, very modern in places where you stay, not expensive to stay, and they take the U.S. dollar as their currency. So you go to an ATM in Panama City and you get out U.S. dollar bills, $20 bills. Very easy to deal with.
Don't have to calculate that and try to figure out. Okay.
No, I was there a little bit early, and so I booked for myself and 2 of my clients who were down there with me early. We booked a little tour, and it was a private tour. We went to the old town where I did some photography. We went to the canal locks. Very easy to do.
Was this like in the Old Town area?
Yeah, that was in the old town. This is an interesting picture. He's wearing all black. I should point this out. This was taken with a special infrared camera that I was having a little bit of fun with. But this is in the old town, street photography. It's very cool. There's old city walls there from, several hundred years old. Old churches, cathedrals you can go into. We had a very good time, and then our other excursion out of Panama City was to go to a place called Monkey Island. These islands were formed when they flooded the valley to make the Panama Canal. When they dammed it up, these little hilltops are now crawling with all kinds of monkeys, and you can feed them. They come right up to the boat, and we got photos. But we were also feeding grapes to capuchin monkeys, which was very cool. And if all you did was go to Panama City, I don't think you would really experience a lot of it. So there's different places you can go. But the big vacation destination, like the beaches and stuff, there are some in Panama City, but the Bocas del Toro region, which is about a 45-minute to an hour flight by turboprop, real easy hop, gets you there. And that's where there's a lot of other things to do for vacations. Now, the Eco Lodge is special because it's small. I think they only have about 9 cabanas. So you can imagine the number of people that are going to be there at any given time is going to be low. And if you're anything into ecotourism, it's really amazing. In fact, they're really not a photography location. I started doing that with them. They have groups of photographers, but their main business is catering to families who want to go on an eco vacation. And yeah, I know that there's stuff that you know, that we have some photos of things, but there's some really special ecology, I should say, on the premises at this particular island, and we can maybe talk about it in a little bit. But the wildlife is just kind of right there, and there's guides on the premises that will find stuff for you. You can climb to the top of an 85-foot observation tower and just take in the sunrise, listen to the parrots fly by, and it's pretty amazing.
Okay. Now, what categories? We kind of break our travelers down into, you have people. You have photographers. A lot of your
Mhm.
clients, your travel clients, you speak their language, so photographers love to work with you. But if you were going to categorize, if you were going to say what kinds of clients would you say would be particularly well suited for this particular eco lodge?
I mean, anybody who's interested, any families. I mean, when we were there were just other families staying there with kids. I mean, with 5, 6-year-old kids. It was not. This is not a place that. I mean, you have to be able to be mobile and get around. So if you've got a lot of difficulty walking or something, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you want to experience the rainforest, be able to go back to an air-conditioned room every day, uh, it's really hard to beat. The other thing is that it's super secure. I mean, it's private property, and you're sharing it with maybe 5 or 6 other families, perhaps groups or whatever. It's not going to be crowded. They have lots of activities, including snorkeling, kayaking, excursions to cocoa plantations. If you want to just do bird watching, it's incredible. Um, and it's just, you can kind of make it as much or as little as you want, but they have packages that you can book where it's a 7-night family vacation, and you every day you go on a different kind. You're going to go on a kayaking trip to a bat cave, for example. It's very
Okay.
interesting.
So now,
So you got to be a little bit able to, you've got to be a little bit able bodied, but it's pretty low impact.
all right. So now you're talking about the activities and excursions now. So clients can book packages that include all of those,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Rolled into the package. You don't have to be every day putting out extra money for to do this optional excursion. You can book that
Right.
right into your package.
Exactly. They have stuff for different family vacation type of excursion packages, bird watching excursion packages, 4-night stays, 7-night stays, lots of different things. And then of course, we would then be able to also package that up with a few days in Panama City on either end, to do see the canal. I don't think you should go to Panama City and skip it. I think you should at
Right.
least see it, right? I mean,
Right.
and that can be fun.
We were there in October on another. We repeated our Panama Canal cruise, and we did go to Panama City as part of an excursion. We took a train excursion that took us all the way across. Just paralleled the canal all the way across. We had previously done one of the ferries that brings you back through the canal, so we wanted to do something a little different. So we did the rail, and then it ended by touring Panama City. Had some of the best gelato I've ever eaten. Just this little place,
Hey,
and
ice
I
cream is
almost
good.
yeah, I almost didn't get off the bus there, and I thought, "Oh, well, we're here. I might as well." And went in that little shop, and it was like, "Oh, wow, I'm glad I didn't miss that because it was memorable. It was that good."
Yeah, the
Um,
food there is great. It really is.
Now, your clients, what was the demographic of the people that went with you this trip?
Oh, it was a nice mix. Most people were over 65, mostly, retired, a range there. But all in good health, able to get around. But, we didn't, we didn't have anything what I would call high impact. We had, we walked around the grounds. We had to be able to climb up the steps, but, you take your time and do that. And frankly, as photographers, we don't always have to go all the way to the top. You can just do go up 3 flights of the steps and you're at treetop level and you can watch the birds come in. We had an excursion by boat to the mainland on a canal, and then back out to sea where we saw seabirds flying around, the frigate birds and boobies like you'd see in the Galapagos,
Wow.
the brown variety there, and tropic birds were there. But a
Sounds like
lot of the stuff you can just see right on the property, and that's what's great about it.
birders, people who are into bird watching, this would
Oh,
be an
yeah.
amazing destination, I think, for them, from what you
Well, every
said.
time I saw a bird, I would look it up in my app, and it would say, "Oh, that's a new one for you." So here's like this is a keel-billed toucan, and we saw this from the boat actually on our trip along this canal where we were photographing wildlife on either side of us. It's kind of a narrow little canal that they built by hand to transport bananas back in the early 1900s.
Wow. This is just such, I always think, you're always posting pictures of birds, and the images are just amazing. But I always think I can't ever get a decent picture of a bird. I had one time that I got a good picture of a pelican, but this is just awesome to just see that huge toucan in flight.
Oh, that was a killer. It was amazing.
And what about this? Is another one of your infrared?
Yeah, this is a special camera that I have, so everything looks a little bit different. But that's right there in the middle of the main lawn on the premises. And if you look in the upper right-hand corner of this tree, there's a sloth with her baby right there, and she sat there for 3 days, and we were able to photograph them at different times of day in different light. And I kind of want to bring out one. I want to mention something as long as we're here with the sloths, because that's really the star of the show down in Central America, is being able to see a sloth, right? I mean, that's a treat. If you go anywhere else in Central America and you're lucky enough to, and what I mean by that is mainland Panama, Costa Rica, the typical places where you might go. 99% of the time, if you're able to see a sloth in the wild, it's going to be 200 feet up a tree, balled up and hunkered down. And that's simply because during the daytime, the hawks or the eagles are predators on the sloths, and they don't want any part of anything. So they don't move much. They don't do anything. On Isla Bastamentos, there's no predators for these sloths. So we see them at eye level sometimes. And even if they're in the tree, they're eating, they're moving. You can see their faces. I have dozens of photographs of this sloth, as well as another species. We came across a two-toed sloth. It was in a tree right up, 4.5, 5 feet off the ground. It was just right there. I took video of it with my phone, for goodness sake. That's how close you are. And I really can't stress enough that if you want to see sloths like this, you're probably not going to happen unless you go out to this particular island where they're just everywhere. It's uncommon to see them anywhere else where you see their face.
This is amazing. Now, this is a mama and her baby, right?
Yeah, that's the baby, and mama. The baby's holding on to mama. So you see the fur of the mama sloth on the right-hand side there.
Yeah, that is just. I've always been fascinated with sloths. So you posted this picture. Whoa! It just kind of blew my mind because it's so cool, and to see it up and just right there.
Yeah, it was very amazing. It was special.
Yeah. Now back to the resort a little bit. How many people did you say it accommodated?
They have, I think, 9 cabanas, which can accommodate up to 2 people each. Some of them are double, two queens, 2 doubles. Some of them are kings. So it just depends. But you're never going to be there with more than about 18 people probably in total if they were full.
Okay,
so that would be your entire. You eat communally in a dining room area. So at most you would be there with,
say 20 people.
20 people tops, yeah.
So would this be the kind of place that might be a cool place for like a a small corporate retreat for their group leaders or friends and family. Would that be something that you think it would work there?
Potentially, I think it could. I mean, you have to work with them a little bit, but you can use their central lodge building is where all the dining tables are. So I met with my group in there and we had our computers out. So you could potentially do something like that. It would certainly be great for a team building exercise or something like that.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking. A
You
lot
know,
of
if you wanted to go, because it's small group, it's very intimate, and you don't have to worry about where you're going to go to eat tonight. You know, all the meals and everything are taken care of. So that really makes it desirable to me because, you know, as a group leader, I don't want to have to think about where to eat every time.
Right, right, and I now, folks, if you think this would be a cool place, you have a friends and family group or something, and you think this would kind of be an interesting place for you to get away and it would be very educational for people with kids in middle school, even into high school. Really a cool destination. But folks, if you're going to do that, I suspect that you would want to have a good bit of lead time. So if you're thinking along those lines, you loving what you're hearing here, you might just want to plan a year out if you want to take over several rooms in this small resort. It would just be not something you could plan at the last minute because I imagine that they
Right.
have, I would suspect that they have return visits like that. Jason, speaking of that, do you plan to go back?
Well, that was the last thing I did before I left was make sure I could get on their calendar. And like you said, there's a considerable amount of lead time. And I am going to plan to bring a photography group back in 2024 in October. October tends to be the nicest weather. September and October on this island tend to be the nicest weather that time of the year. And there's migrations of birds that come through. But any time of year there is good. The summer is going to be the hottest and the rainiest.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a dry season. There's a drier season.
Yes, down in the
We've got a
tropics.
little wet on our boat ride in, but that was okay.
That is good. Now, folks, I'm just saying that if you want to go with Jason, if you're a photographer or the spouse or companion to a photographer this would be a fabulous Christmas gift. I'm just saying, we're just early in the summer. If you've got somebody who might like to go next year, you could reserve your space now. And Jason, obviously, only a handful of people. How many people at tops are you going to take on this?
At most, I take 6 photographers, but they can bring a companion at a reduced rate because they wouldn't be. And that would include everything except the one boat excursion that I do with the photography group because we got to keep that small. But everything else, they would have access to everything else on the island at the Eco Lodge. And if you wanted to, you know, book your own excursions through them, you could do that and add those on and just enjoy the, you know, bird watching while we try to take pictures.
Right. They could do their own thing and enjoy the
Exactly.
resort or excursions or whatever while you're out doing your thing. So if you folks, if you want to get your name in the hat, you see Jason's contact information, reach out to him, let him know about your interest and get more particulars about that. Folks, we're so glad that you joined us for this, and I hope that you've learned a little bit about Panama. Maybe we've piqued your interest about this particular resort. You could join Jason, or you could contact Jason to just if you want to go just as an individual. You say this would be the kind of place I'd love to go. You can book an independent trip there. Jason can take care of booking you there, and it's going to obviously be one of those unforgettable trips that will live on long after the trip is over. Now, 5 listeners, you know that we're always going to have a great giveaway, and tonight is no exception. We're going to draw a name out of the hat later this evening after the broadcast, and we're giving away tonight This is compression packing cubes. These are packing cubes on steroids. These are fabulous upscale, and they're going to enable you to get more stuff in that suitcase when you are taking off on your next trip. You can make the most of that space, and your clothes can arrive in good shape and not just a bunch of wrinkles. Sometimes when we cram stuff into our suitcase and try to get it all in, we just have a mess. But these will help keep everything organized and wrinkle free. If you want to win these fabulous Gonex compression packing cubes, I want you to enter the phrase of the day in the comments section. And this is live listeners only again. I want you to write, say yes to Panama. Say yes to Panama. And if you do that, you're going to be entered into our drawing this evening. We're wishing everybody good luck. Jason, any last words for our listeners?
I use packing cubes like that. They're awesome. They're, but I just, when I saw that, it's a great place. And just because people will always ask, are there a lot of bugs? Not really. Didn't have any issues with mosquitoes or anything like that. A few little things that come out early in the morning, but they're gone by the time you've had breakfast. So we did not have any major bug problems or anything like that. So it's pretty safe to go there. And I would just say it is an absolute safe location to go to. You just don't have to worry too much about much when you're not in any place where there's other tourists. I mean, it's very contained. So it's an ideal place to really relax and not have to worry too much about
and
stuff.
Your kids are going, if you're a family unit, your kids are going to have a great time in a safe environment and learning everything. They're going to learn without having to feel like they're learning. It's going to be an educational experience that's painless, and they don't even know it's happening. So great for
and you're almost guaranteed to see sloths. So I mean, I don't make that statement lightly. So it's a great thing.
You can't say that everywhere. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining us. Folks, thanks again for tuning in for another episode of Let's Talk Travel. Make it a regular habit every Tuesday evening at 7:30 Eastern. We're here. Thanks again. See you next week. Bye, everybody.